You are told to be kind, humble, and useful. Yet the world ignores those who obey. The truth is, simple people only value what they fear losing. If you want power, you must become a person the world cannot afford to replace. This is not about goodness. It's about leverage. And leverage only comes to those who are willing to become dangerously valuable. Power is not taken. It is granted to those who make themselves indispensable. In every court, every corporation, every social circle, the weak beg to be liked while the strong make themselves needed. To be valuable, in a moral sense, is meaningless. The world rewards utility that intimidates. You must become the kind of person whose absence causes fear, whose silence creates instability. That is the highest form of control. This is not self-improvement, this is self-weaponization. Tonight, we study the art of becoming so useful that power itself bends toward you. They tell you to be available, to be accessible, to say yes to everything. And that is precisely why most people remain invisible. Understand this: what is abundant loses value, not because it is useless, but because it is common. Water is vital, yet no one kneels before a river. But gold, rare, impractical, and worshipped. So, ask yourself, in the marketplace of human worth, are you water or gold? The powerful know this law instinctively. They do not compete to be liked. They compete to be needed. A king surrounded by 1,000 flatterers trusts none of them. But he kneels before the one man who can keep his enemies quiet. Scarcity breeds dependence, and dependence is the architecture of control. Consider the courts of Renaissance Italy. While fools battled for the prince's affection, the wise offered what no one else could: strategy, insight, precision. They did not chase approval, they became indispensable. That was their shield and sword. The greatest protection in any power game is not loyalty. It is irreplaceability. Look around you. In business, the worker who follows orders is replaceable. The one who creates systems, who makes others' jobs easier. He becomes a necessary organ in the body of the organization. Cut him out, and the body bleeds. In relationships, the one who is always available becomes background noise. The one who withdraws, who appears rarely but meaningfully, becomes magnetic. Absence sharpens desire, presence dulls it. Scarcity manipulates emotion without saying a word. It is not enough to be good. You must be rarely good. You must offer what cannot be easily found elsewhere, and then offer it on your terms. But here lies the trap: many confuse rarity with arrogance. They withdraw without value to offer. That is not power. That is emptiness masquerading as mystery. True scarcity is built upon substance. You must be a reservoir others need to drink from: knowledge, skill, insight, perspective, emotional control. These are currencies that cannot be faked for long. Think of a chessboard. Pawns are many, queens are few. And the difference lies not in their existence, but in their range of power. The pawn obeys rules. The queen bends them. In life, most remain pawns because they seek approval more than leverage. They move predictably, afraid to offend. The powerful move with strategy, guided not by emotion but by consequence. Scarcity, when mastered, becomes a silent language. You enter a room, and your silence weighs more than others' speeches. People anticipate your words because they are not handed out freely. Your time, your attention, your approval, each becomes a currency that others compete to earn. Ask yourself, when was the last time you withheld something valuable? Not out of fear, but calculation? When was the last time you made others wait, not to punish them, but to condition their desire? Human psychology is simple. The more accessible something is, the less the mind values it. The forbidden, the limited, these awaken obsession. The powerful exploit this truth endlessly. They give just enough to ignite curiosity, then vanish into silence. They make others chase them, not through cruelty, but through precision. Even nature follows this law. The rare flower is admired, the common weed ignored. The night sky dazzles not because of its darkness, but because light appears in fragments. Scarce, distant, unreachable. And so, the wise man becomes like the stars. Distant enough to be desired, close enough to be seen. You must become the rare element in a world addicted to noise. Do not compete for attention. Control it through absence. Do not explain your value. Make others feel it by denying access. Each time you say yes without thought, you dilute your worth. Each time you make yourself fully available, you tell the world you are replaceable. Remember this: people respect boundaries they cannot cross, and they value what they must earn. Scarcity is not about greed. It is about positioning. It is not selfishness. It is strategy. In every era, from ancient courts to modern boardrooms, the game remains the same. Be what few can replace, and the world will orbit around you. But here lies the darker truth few dare to confront. To become scarce, you must first detach from the addiction to being seen. You must be willing to be forgotten for a while, so that when you return, your presence feels like a privilege. That is the first art of power, the art of vanishing just enough to make the world notice your absence. Because only when your silence begins to echo louder than others' noise will you understand the true price and reward of becoming dangerously valuable. Power is never owned. It is loaned by those who believe they cannot live without you. You can make a man love you, fear you, even hate you, but the moment he needs you, you own him. Dependency is the quietest form of control. It doesn't shout, it doesn't threaten, it smiles while tightening the leash. Ask yourself, why do the truly powerful rarely command through force? Because force provokes rebellion. Dependency, on the other hand, provokes loyalty. The one who depends on you defends you, even against reason. He convinces himself that your control is care, that your dominance is protection. He becomes your instrument, and he will even thank you for using him. Consider the court of the Medici. The prince did not always need soldiers to rule. He needed bankers, advisors, merchants, each tied to his favor, his wealth, his influence. They could not betray him because their survival was his will. Dependency is the most elegant form of enslavement. In your world, it is no different. The employee who makes himself the only one who knows how a system works becomes untouchable. The lover who makes their partner emotionally addicted can vanish for days and still be chased. The friend who becomes everyone's problem solver ensures constant relevance, not by kindness, but by calculation. Ask yourself again, do you seek to be liked or to be needed? Liking fades, need endures. A person may grow tired of your charm, but they will never tire of what they depend upon. Dependency begins with usefulness. You make yourself useful enough to enter someone's life, then essential enough to never be removed. But usefulness alone is not enough. You must design a symmetry. If they can do without you, you have failed. If you can do without them, you have won. In every relationship, business, romantic or social, examine the balance. Who relies on whom? Who has the ability to walk away? The answer reveals the master and the servant. A Roman general once said, "He who feeds you controls you." He was not speaking of food. He meant dependency. The psychological nourishment people crave: approval, validation, opportunity. The moment you become the source of any of these, you own the rhythm of their emotions. But beware, dependence must never look deliberate. If people sense you are cultivating their need, they will resist. So you must hide your hand. Give freely, but selectively. Help, but not too quickly. Let others feel the sting of struggle before you arrive with the cure. They will associate relief with your presence. And soon, they will confuse that relief with affection. That is how rulers create loyalty. Through calculated generosity. Not endless giving, but timed salvation. This is why kings reward, but rarely rescue. They let their subjects suffer just enough to remember who controls comfort. The same psychology drives modern systems of power. Corporations, governments, even personal relationships. Dependency keeps the world orderly. The illusion of freedom keeps it peaceful. Do you think the masses truly desire independence? No. They crave structure, leadership, certainty. They want to depend, but they want to feel as though they chose it. The manipulator's task is to let them keep that illusion. You do not tell people to obey. You make them want your presence. You make them need your approval to feel complete. Then they chain themselves, willingly. Even in love, dependency masquerades as devotion. The one who loves more suffers more. The one who controls emotion controls the bond. You have seen it, the one who cares less rules more. The trick is to appear generous while quietly making others dependent on your generosity. Appear kind, but be calculating. Appear humble, but monitor the chain you are building. The chain need not be cruel. It can be woven with favors, advice, comfort, or opportunity. But it must be strong enough that their world trembles when you withdraw. Dependency is not about domination, it is about design. It is the art of creating imbalance so subtle that others thank you for it. You will know you've succeeded when your silence causes panic, when your absence feels like punishment, even if you meant nothing by it. This is the essence of quiet power, not to shout commands, but to become the condition of another's stability. And once they rely on you to breathe, you no longer need to lift a finger. They will build your throne themselves, out of fear of losing you. But the true strategist knows, even dependence must be managed carefully. For if you make others too desperate, they will hate you. If you make them just desperate enough, they will worship you. The fool displays everything he has, hoping to impress. The wise man hides his weapons, so no one knows what to fear. Power, when revealed too soon, invites resistance. But when concealed, it breeds uncertainty, and uncertainty is the root of control. Ask yourself, why do people fear the dark? Because they cannot see what might be lurking inside it. Likewise, those who cannot measure your strength will always overestimate it. Revealing your full capacity is a form of surrender. It gives others a map of your limits, a guide on how to defeat you. But concealment forces them to imagine your power, and imagination is always more frightening than reality. History rewards those who mastered restraint. Julius Caesar rarely showed anger. His calm terrified his enemies more than any sword. A man who reacts quickly reveals where he can be struck. A man who doesn't react at all makes others question whether he can be struck at all. Strategic restraint is not weakness. It is the discipline of those who understand the cost of exposure. You must learn to make silence your ally. Not every truth deserves to be spoken. Not every victory needs to be displayed. The one who speaks less often seems wiser. The one who acts without warning seems stronger. Consider the art of the predator. The lion does not roar before it hunts. It moves quietly until the strike is inevitable. Humans are no different. The one who shouts about his strength rarely has any. The one who whispers, yet commands attention, already holds power in his silence. Ask yourself, how much of your power have you wasted trying to prove it? Every time you over-explain, every time you defend yourself, you surrender authority. Power is not proven. It is felt. Restraint creates mystery. Mystery breeds speculation. Speculation feeds fear. And fear, not love, is the foundation of lasting influence. In a world obsessed with exposure, restraint becomes rebellion. Everyone wants to be seen, to be praised, to be recognized. But the more visible you are, the more predictable you become. Predictability kills power. The powerful man withholds, not because he cannot give, but because he chooses when to give. His timing is deliberate, his words precise, his silence measured. He understands that control is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right thing at the right moment. In politics, this is why the ruler must never speak all his mind. If his subjects know what he truly believes, they can manipulate him. But if his beliefs remain obscure, every man becomes cautious, fearing where the ruler stands. Even in personal life, this law holds. If you reveal your emotions too early, others learn your buttons. They know how to guilt you, provoke you, control you. But when you remain composed, when no one knows what you're thinking, they stumble in uncertainty. Strategic restraint is emotional warfare. You deny others the satisfaction of reading you, the pleasure of predicting you. And in doing so, you elevate yourself from the ordinary to the untouchable. Ask yourself, do you speak to connect or to control? Do you react to defend or to dominate? Each moment of restraint is a decision to preserve leverage. When you hide your true capabilities, others underestimate you. Let them. There is no greater advantage than being perceived as harmless until it is too late. In war, generals disguise their strength. They feign weakness to lure the enemy closer. Then, when the opponent feels safe, the trap closes. The same principle governs power in human interaction. Never reveal your entire truth. Never display your full ability. Show just enough to maintain respect, but never enough to remove doubt. The moment they fully understand you, they stop fearing you. And when fear dies, respect follows. Restraint is not passive. It is the quiet tension between patience and power. It is knowing that every secret you keep becomes a weapon for tomorrow. Every word you withhold becomes leverage in a future conversation. Every silence you maintain makes others speak more and reveal their weakness first. To practice restraint is to reverse the game. You no longer chase control, you let others surrender it to fill the void your silence creates. The greatest power is not in what you reveal, but in what you withhold. The powerful man is not the loudest in the room. He is the one everyone watches, waiting to see what he will do next. Because mystery commands attention, and silence, when wielded with purpose, commands obedience. So hold back your words, hide your full strength. Let others wonder. Let them fear what they cannot see. There is a dangerous illusion in the modern world that emotion defines your humanity. But in the pursuit of power, emotion defines your weakness. The one who cannot detach from emotion becomes a slave to it. And slaves, no matter how kind or talented, are never respected. Ask yourself, how many times have you made choices out of guilt, pity, or anger only to regret them later? How many times have you given too much, waited too long, or forgiven too easily, believing it made you good when it only made you exploitable? Emotion is not your enemy, but it is not your ally either. It must serve you, not the other way around. The world does not reward your feelings. It rewards your function. Your worth is measured by what you can produce, protect, or influence, not by how deeply you feel. The powerful understand this. They do not suppress emotion, they discipline it. They use it as a tool, never as a master. Consider the rulers of old. When Caesar returned to Rome after victory, he faced senators who envied his power. He smiled, dined with them, even called them friends, knowing that among them sat men plotting his death. He did not act from anger. He acted from strategy. Emotion would have exposed him. Composure bought him time. Even his assassins trembled before the calmness of his gaze. To detach from emotion is to move from impulse to calculation. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" and begin asking, "What outcome will this serve?" That shift, from feeling to function, is the birth of true power. But understand this, emotional detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It allows you to see without distortion, to analyze others not through sympathy, but through truth. When you stop reacting emotionally, you start observing patterns. You begin to notice how people use feelings as weapons: guilt to control you, pity to disarm you, love to trap you. And once you see the pattern, you become immune. The manipulator's greatest trick is to make you feel responsible for their emotions, to convince you that saying no makes you cruel, that asserting boundaries makes you selfish. But the moment you accept that lie, you surrender control. You must learn to separate care from control. You can understand others without obeying them. You can feel compassion without becoming their servant. In truth, most people do not seek understanding. They seek compliance. They weaponize emotion to make you yield, and the only defense is cold utility. To think not as a victim, but as an architect. Every choice must serve a structure. Every action must build leverage. If it does not strengthen you, it weakens you. There is no middle ground. Ask yourself, when you give, do you give from calculation or from compulsion? When you forgive, do you gain peace or lose position? When you help, does it strengthen your influence or diminish it? Sentiment is expensive. Strategy is profitable. And the wise man knows the difference between mercy that maintains power and mercy that destroys it. History remembers the conquerors not for their warmth, but for their will. Alexander wept for his enemies after destroying them, but only after victory. His compassion followed conquest, never preceded it. That is the sequence of power, feeling after function. Even in your personal life, the same principle governs all outcomes. The one who feels more loses more. The one who acts from logic rules longer. When emotion rules you, others learn how to control you. They study what angers you, what flatters you, what makes you surrender your judgment. And once they find it, they own you. Control begins the moment you stop reacting. When you can face insult without outrage, rejection without insecurity, betrayal without collapse, you become untouchable. Detachment gives you options. Emotion narrows them. The cold strategist can wait, plan, and strike at the right moment, because he is not blinded by feeling. And this, perhaps, is the cruelest truth. You cannot be free until you no longer need to be understood. The world may misjudge you, call you heartless. But those same voices will obey you when they realize you cannot be emotionally moved. Detachment does not kill humanity, it refines it. It strips away weakness disguised as virtue. It transforms kindness from obligation into choice. When emotion becomes your servant, not your master, your worth becomes undeniable, not sentimental. Because those who are ruled by feeling always chase validation, but those who master detachment become validation itself. So remember this. The moment you stop seeking to feel powerful and start seeking to be functional, you cross the line between the common and the calculating. Power is rarely about truth. It is about perception, and perception, when crafted carefully, can make a man appear unshakable, even when he stands on hollow ground. Ask yourself, how many leaders, bosses, or public figures have commanded obedience not because they were truly powerful, but because they appeared so? The illusion was their armor, and the crowd's belief was their fortress. The world is ruled not by the most capable, but by the most convincing. Reality bends easily before confidence and control. Because most people do not seek truth. They seek assurance. They crave someone who looks certain so they can rest in their uncertainty. Thus, to appear indispensable is to manufacture stability in the eyes of others. And in a chaotic world, stability is mistaken for strength. Look at history. The rulers who outlasted their rivals were not always the bravest or the wisest. They were the ones who mastered appearance. Consider Louis XIV, the Sun King. His court was a theater, and he was its eternal actor. Every gesture, every silence, every costume was deliberate. He made his presence feel divine, his favor a blessing. In truth, his ministers handled most of the state, but perception made him immortal. You must learn from him. Power is not maintained by doing everything, but by making it seem as though nothing can function without you. Ask yourself, do the people around you believe they can replace you? If they do, your time in control is already ticking down. Your goal is not only to possess value, it is to broadcast it with precision. Appear irreplaceable, and others will build the illusion for you. But this appearance cannot be desperate. The scent of need kills the illusion of power. You must appear detached, confident, and slightly beyond reach. In conversation, speak less, and when you speak, make it weighty. In your work, deliver results that seem effortless, even if they cost you everything behind the curtain. In your demeanor, project calm, because chaos never follows the calm. The appearance of ease is the language of dominance. Consider a general before battle. If he trembles, his army crumbles. If he smiles, even in the face of defeat, the soldiers fight harder, because they believe he knows something they do not. That belief becomes strength, even if it is built on illusion. You must understand, people need symbols more than truths. They worship the image of competence, not competence itself. This is why appearances are more potent than facts. Facts require thought. Appearances demand only emotion, and emotion governs the majority. Do not waste your energy trying to prove your worth. Demonstrate it subtly. Let others conclude it. What is inferred holds more weight than what is declared. In social dynamics, this becomes psychological warfare. The person who seems to know more, who seems more confident, who seems more essential, controls the tempo. Others adjust themselves to his rhythm. This illusion must be maintained through consistency. If you change tone too often, if you show panic even once, the spell weakens. The appearance of power must be stable, predictable, like the ticking of a clock that others depend upon to mark time itself. You can even craft perceived indispensability through absence. Withdraw occasionally. Let your absence create small chaos, confusion, inefficiency, silence, then return and restore order with ease. People will remember the peace tied to your presence and the disorder tied to your absence. That is how kings make their crowns feel divine. Ask yourself, what happens when you are gone? If nothing falls apart, you have failed to create dependence. If everything trembles, you have succeeded. Even the illusion of importance must feel like oxygen, unnoticed until it's gone. But understand this paradox: the more essential you appear, the less effort you must show. Because true power does not chase recognition, it commands it silently. People trust what they do not fully understand. They follow what feels inevitable. Therefore, never explain your methods, never reveal all your effort. Let results appear natural, the effortless consequence of your existence. To appear indispensable, you must make others feel smaller in your absence, not by humiliation, but by quiet imbalance. You must occupy their mental space, not through noise, but through necessity. Even when you have no real control, act as if you do. Confidence fills the gaps that competence cannot. And when others depend on your certainty, their belief becomes your reality. This is the alchemy of power, turning perception into substance. By the time they realize you were never essential, it will no longer matter, because they will have already built a world that needs you. Remember, the world rewards the illusion that serves its comfort. If you can make people feel safe in your control, they will protect your throne for you. The world does not reward authenticity. It rewards presentation. You were told to be yourself. But the self you were born with is untrained, emotional, predictable, reactive. Power begins the moment you stop being yourself and start building yourself. Every great ruler, every figure who shaped history, understood this secret. Identity is not found, it is forged. Ask yourself, who benefits when you stay true to your weaknesses? The world certainly does, because a man who refuses to transform is easy to read, easy to manipulate, and easy to destroy. To become valuable, you must first become unnatural. You must sculpt yourself deliberately, not into who you are, but into who you must be. This is self-transformation as warfare, and the battlefield is your own mind. You are fighting comfort, emotion, and the illusions of sincerity that keep most men powerless, because those who cling to authenticity become slaves to their impulses. The powerful, instead, master the art of the persona, a mask that amplifies control while concealing vulnerability. Consider the princes of Florence. They smiled in public, plotted in private, and ruled through masks. Their faces showed virtue, their hearts held strategy. They understood that perception shapes destiny. A ruler does not show his pain. A strategist does not reveal confusion. A manipulator does not express fear. The face you show determines the treatment you receive. People respond not to truth, but to the version of truth you project. So, what version of you commands respect? What version makes others cautious, intrigued, uncertain? That is the version you must create, piece by piece, word by word, silence by silence. Transformation is not about pretending, it is about evolving your usefulness. The naive version of you sought approval. The forged version demands recognition. The old you begged for belonging, the new you creates demand. But understand, the transformation will cost you comfort, because every mask is heavy until it fits your face. You will be misunderstood, judged, even feared. That is the tax of power, and those who cannot endure that solitude are not yet ready to be remade. Every persona must be built with purpose. If you wish to command respect, cultivate calmness. If you wish to radiate intelligence, speak less, let your pauses carry weight. If you wish to seem powerful, appear unmoved by praise or insult alike. People measure you by consistency. Every inconsistency breaks the illusion. The one who can maintain character even under fire, that is the man the world learns to obey. Look to history again. Napoleon's soldiers followed him into death, not because he was divine, but because he performed divinity. His posture, his voice, his composure, all engineered to project inevitability. He became the symbol his army needed. That is what transformation truly means, becoming larger than life in the eyes of others. Not through delusion, but through design. Ask yourself, if your life were a play, what role are you performing right now? The victim, the seeker, the servant, and more importantly, what role do you wish to be remembered for? To change that role, you must rewrite your script. Rewrite how you speak, how you stand, how you enter a room. Even your smallest details, your tone, your rhythm, your stillness, must reflect intention. People do not remember what you say, they remember how you felt to encounter. That is why presence is more valuable than truth. But beware, transformation is a double-edged blade. If your mask is hollow, it will collapse under pressure. If it is built on genuine discipline, it becomes armor. This is why the internal war matters. The war between who you are and who you aim to be. Without that struggle, your persona is costume, not power. But with it, your persona becomes a weapon. You begin to control perception itself. And perception, once mastered, turns even your silence into strategy. Remember, no one is born commanding value. Value is engineered. It is carved from self, restraint, cultivated from composure, and reinforced by deliberate mystery. The mask you forge today becomes your kingdom tomorrow. And when others bow, they are not bowing to your truth. They are bowing to the version of you that conquered your weakness, because the greatest victory is not over others. It is over the chaos within. So, forge your persona like a blade. Sharpen it through discipline. Polish it through silence. Wield it through precision. And when the world looks at you, let them see not a man, but a construct too deliberate to be ordinary. Power is never taken by force alone. It is taken by understanding the human mind, and using that understanding silently. The most effective control is invisible. People obey not because they are forced, but because they believe it was their idea. You do not shout your influence, you whisper it. You plant thoughts, shape emotions, and let others walk willingly into the cage you built. To control others, you must first master yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your silence. These are your tools. Because when you appear calm, others reveal themselves. And when you reveal nothing, you control everything. Remember this: true dominance is elegance disguised as humility, and the mind that stays unseen rules all that can be seen. Now tell me, what have you learned about control tonight? Comment your thoughts below, subscribe for more lessons in power, psychology, and strategy, and share this video, so others may believe they are learning about influence, while you quietly practice it.